Hi everyone, and welcome to The Sleepy Scientist. I'm really happy you're here. Tonight, we're going to go on a calm and quiet trip to learn something amazing. So get comfy, take a deep breath, and let's enjoy this peaceful science story together. Before we start, tell me in the comments, where are you watching from and what time is it for you right now? If you like relaxing science videos, don't forget to tap the like button. Now let's begin.
Before you even open your eyes in the morning, light is already at play, dancing through the air like invisible waves humming a quiet song. You do not hear it, yet it moves with the rhythm of music, not in sound but in color vibrations measured not in decibels, but in wavelengths. The sun sends these waves with no melody, and yet your eyes catch them like an orchestra tuning its instruments. The blues are cool whispers, the reds are deep cello strokes, and the greens sit somewhere in between, a gentle hum in the middle of the scale. Deep inside your eyes are tiny cells shaped like combs and bowls, lying in wait like listeners in a concert hall. They are called cones and rods, though they have nothing to do with traffic or fishing. Cones come in three kinds, each tuned to a different note of color, one for short waves, one for medium, and one for long. These cells don't hear the light, but they feel it, absorb it, transform it into signals, and send it to your brain. And then somehow a color is born. Not just as a sensation, but as a memory, a mood, a moment stitched into time. Now imagine standing in a garden just after a rainstorm. The sky has cracked open, and the world glows, the wet leaves shimmer with an extra layer of green, and puddles reflect pink skis that were never painted. In that moment, your eyes are not just seeing, they are listening to a harmony of reflections. Each raindrop bends light in its own way, turning angles into colors, and suddenly, a rainbow arches across the sky. You do not hear the rainbow, but your chest swells as if a note has been struck, a vibration not of air, but of awe. That rainbow is no accident. It is a map of visible frequencies stretching from violet to red, each band a different tempo of light, each one vibrating at its own speed. Violet waves are short and quick, darting like hummingbirds. Red waves are long and slow, like the fatting echo of a drumbeat. The space between them is not silence, but a smooth glide across invisible scales. Somewhere in that range is the color you call yellow, a color that cannot be found in a single wavelength, but is instead born from the brain's blending of red and green, like chords forming a major key. The light you see is only a sliver of what exists. Most of the electromagnetic spectrum is silent to you. Ultraviolet dances just beyond violet, and infrared hums just beneath red. Bees can see ultraviolet, snakes can sense infrared, but you are tuned to the visible scale, as if your eyes were sculpted by nature to catch the melodies best suited for the world you live in. That is why flowers seem to glow in the sun and fire flickers gold in the dark. It's not that these things sing, it's that your eyes know how to listen. Even the surfaces around you are part of this symphony. When sunlight hits a red apple, it is not giving off red. It is rejecting every other color and reflecting only red toward your gaze. That redness is not inside the apple. It is in your perception, in the signals bouncing through your brain, painted onto your awareness like a soft tune that never truly leaves your head. Every color you see is a kind of subtraction, a selection, a decision made by matter to echo only part of the light that strikes it, and what is left becomes the music you call color. Inside your brain, in the visual cortex near the back of your head, billions of neurons hum in patterns. They do not know the difference between red and blue in words, but they know what to do when light arrives. They fire in rhythms, creating internal maps of shadow and hue. That's why the same sky can look more purple in the evening, or why a room lit with candlelight feels warmer, even if the temperature is unchanged. Your brain does not simply see light, it interprets it, translating photons into meaning, wavelengths into wonder. And sometimes it even misinterprets it. Close your eyes and press gently on them with your fingertips. Do you see sparks of color? Those are phosphene's lightless lights, a kind of internal static. Your eyes, deprived of light, start to make their own show as if they missed the concert and try to recreate it. Your brain, always eager to sense, fills in silence with color, just like it fills in quiet with imagined sound. In this way, even the absence of light can become its own melody, soft and strange. Some people in a rare crossing of senses called synesthesia can actually hear colors or see sounds. For them, a trumpet might flash orange, or a painting might play a silent tune in their minds. Scientists study this not to explain it away, but to marvel at how connected our senses are. After all, both color and sound are vibrations, one through air, the other through light. And perhaps deep within us all, the wires still remember how to braid those threads together. This is where the story begins, in the place where seeing becomes sensing, where the light itself feels like a lullaby, a quiet melody you do not hear but still somehow recognize. It's in the way sunlight turns the curtains gold, in the way twilight turns the road blue. It's in the hush that falls when the rainbow appears. And if you slow down just enough, you might almost hear it. Let's drift deeper now, into the space behind the colors, into the silence where light begins its journey. Imagine a single photon born inside the core of the sun. It starts as energy pressed tightly within hydrogen atoms, bouncing around for thousands of years, nudged and redirected through a glowing maze. By the time it escapes the sun's surface and travels to Earth, it has become pure light, invisible, weightless, ancient. That photon may land on a leaf, on your cheek, or pass through a glass of water and split into colors. And in that moment, something old becomes new again. A timeless note joins the quiet orchestra of vision. Every color you see has traveled across space to reach you. Even the soft blue of the morning sky is not in the sky itself. It's scattered sunlight, bouncing off air molecules, redirected just enough to paint the heavens. Blue light has shorter waves, and these scatter more easily, so the whole dome above becomes a giant canvas for blue. But as the day ends and the sun lowers, the light must pass through more air, and the blue scatters away. What's left is red and gold, long waves that travel farther, slower, heavier, and the sky burns with the memory of light. This scattering is called Rayleigh scattering, named after a scientist who once watched the sky and wondered why it changed. But long before it had a name, the sky had a voice. People whispered stories about it, of gods painting sunsets, of spirits singing at dusk. And maybe they were not wrong. Science gives us the method, but poetry gives us the music. The light that reaches your eye carries more than just data. It carries feeling. It's the reason why a blue sky can lift your mood, or why the golden hour feels like time itself is stretching, yawning, glowing just for you. Now imagine light touching something not alive, a crystal perhaps lying on a windowsill. The crystal doesn't breathe, doesn't think. But when sunlight enters its angles, it bends, breaks, and explodes into rainbows. This bending is called refraction. It happens because light slows down when it enters a different material, like stepping from air into water. And when it slows, it curves. That curve is what turns white light into colors. Each wavelength bends a little differently. Violet curves the most, red the least, and they separate like voices in a chord, finally heard as individuals. Refraction doesn't just happen in crystals. It happens in your eye, too. The clear lens behind your iris bends incoming light to focus it on the retina, that delicate layer of cells waiting to receive the world. If the lens curves too much or too little, your vision blurs and the colors go out of tune. Glasses, then, are not just tools. They are tiny instruments retuning the light so you can see its melody clearly. Every time you adjust your glasses, you're helping your eyes read the notes more perfectly, letting color return to its rightful harmony. But color is not just about seeing. It's also about remembering. Think of a moment from your childhood, a red balloon floating against a gray sky. You don't just recall the shape. You remember the red, the way it pulsed, the way it warmed you. Color stores emotion. Your brain links it with feelings, with scent, with time. That's why a certain shade of green might remind you of your grandmother's kitchen tiles, or why soft yellow brings back the smell of old books and sleepy afternoons. The science of color becomes the language of memory. Inside the brain, color travels through the optic nerve to a region called V4, a small space but full of wonder. This is where your brain decides what you're seeing, but it doesn't do it alone. Context matters. A gray square might look blue in one setting, green in another. Your brain takes in shadows, light sources, expectations, and then it chooses the color. That means, in a way, that the world is not painted in fixed hues. It is painted in perception. You are not just a passive viewer. You are the artist finishing the scene. And sometimes, the painting plays tricks. Look at an optical illusion where the same color appears different on different backgrounds. Your brain adjusts for lighting, depth, and shadow, trying to guess what the true color is. That guessing is usually helpful. It allows you to see a white shirt as white whether it's under golden lamplight or blue moonlight. But it also means color is always a little bit of a story, a quiet interpretation, an approximation, told by your senses and refined by your thoughts. Some animals tell a different story. The mantis shrimp, for example, has 16 types of color receptors, far more than your 3. Scientists once thought this meant the shrimp could see millions more colors than humans, maybe colors we can't even imagine. But recent studies show the shrimp may not combine those colors the way we do. It may simply have a broader range, not a richer song. And this makes us wonder, is color more about what we see or how we feel it? Perhaps both. Perhaps that is where the melody lives, not just in the eyes, but in the mind behind them. And there is something even more curious, the idea that the colors we name may not be the same across cultures. Some languages once had no word for blue. The ancient Greeks described the sea as wine dark, not azure. Was their vision different or just their attention? Maybe they saw blue but did not separate it from green. Maybe the color was there but not the melody. Language, too, is an instrument, and it decides which parts of the spectrum we learn to hear. In this way, your mother tongue becomes a filter for light, a scale you were born to play. As night falls, light slips away, but it does not leave. It changes. Candles flicker with redder hues, stars pierce the sky with sharp white glints, and the moon reflects pale, sleepy silver. Your rods, the low-light sensors in your eyes, begin to take over, replacing detail with shadow, color with form. The melody fades, but the rhythm remains. You stop hearing the full song of color, but you still feel its hum in the shapes around you. The world softens, like a lullaby ending on a single, whispered note. Let us now drift toward the closing notes of this silent song, the place where color and sound seem to fold into each other, not in noise or hue, but in quiet understanding. Think of the northern lights curling and pulsing through the sky. No sound, no scent, no heat, and yet they feel loud in your chest. That green shimmer across the night is more than light. It's movement, it's rhythm, it's breath. Caused by solar particles crashing into Earth's magnetic field, they ignite the atmosphere into a show of electric ballet. The colors are real, but the experience is larger. It's as if the sky sings without voice, and we know the words anyway. In this way, all color is energy, tiny oscillations of light traveling through space until something or someone gives them meaning. Whether they come from a sunset, a candle flame, or the backlight of a phone screen, these waves are silent musicians. The color you see on a friend's shirt or a ripe mango or a distant planet, it all began with particles humming through space, dancing their way into your perception. And as they touch your world, they change it not by force, but by impression. They leave behind a trace, like a note that lingers after the music ends. Sometimes those impressions become more than feelings, they become stories. Artists have long spoken of color theory, blending paints like chords in a scale. Van Gogh painted with blues to cry, with yellows to remember joy. In the stained glass of old cathedrals, red meant blood, green meant rebirth, and gold meant the divine. These meanings were not scientific, but they became real through use, tradition, and emotion. Even in science, the use of false color, where infrared or X-ray data is rendered in visible hues, shows that color is a tool of understanding, not just vision. It is a bridge between reality and imagination. But how deep does this bridge go? There are those who believe color has healing powers, that certain hues can calm the heart or awaken the mind. While the science is still young, we do know that light affects circadian rhythms, that blue light can delay sleep, and that red light can soothe wounds in certain treatments. This isn't magic, it's biology finely tuned. Your body, like your eyes, listens to light. Skin reacts, blood vessels respond, hormones adjust. The world around you is not just lit by color, it is changed by it. Color is not decoration, it is dialogue. And in that dialogue, we often forget how strange it is to see it all. Light has no color. The waves themselves do not glow. They move invisibly, quietly, until your eyes catch them. It is only within you that they become blue, gold, or green. That means the world as it truly is might be colorless, painted only when someone observes it. And maybe that is the greatest melody of all, not the light, but the act of seeing itself. A moment when the universe is noticed, interpreted, sung into clarity. Now think of silence, not the absence of sound, but the presence of calm. The same can be said of darkness. It is not nothing. It is a resting place for color, a canvas waiting for the next stroke of light. When you walk into a dark room and switch on a lamp, the shadows don't run, they adjust. The blues tiptoe forward, the oranges lean in, and suddenly the room feels alive again. That slow blooming of light is a kind of music, one your body feels before your brain names it. Even when your eyes are closed, you still carry color. You dream in shades. You remember in tones. Your thoughts flicker in images tinted by past emotions. If you've ever sat in a forest, eyes shut, with sunlight painting your eyelids, then you know what it's like to hear light. It is warmth, yes, but it is also rhythm. The pulsing red behind your lids is the song of photons filtered by skin and blood. You are not just a listener of color, you are part of its echo. This is why we decorate our homes, why we pick clothes with care, why sunsets still stop us in our tracks. Somewhere inside, we know that colors are not just surface things. They shape how we feel, how we speak, how we move. Even birds, when choosing mates, rely on feathers that catch the light just right. Peacocks, butterflies, beetles, they all wear color like a second voice. And in humans, we do the same. We choose colors for mourning, for weddings, for birth. We mark time with seasonal tones, the cool blues of winter, the new greens of spring, the golden reds of fall. And when color fades, it tells its own story. A dried flower turns from bright pink to dusty rose. A painting loses vibrancy with age. But the meaning does not disappear, it deepens. Like a song played on an old record, the scratches add character. So too with color. As it fades, it becomes memory. And memory, like light, bends gently through the lens of time. So as we come to the end of this first story, this quiet journey into the world of light, let us pause in that tender space where colors hum and silence listens. Let us remember that every color you've ever seen was once just a wave, traveling with no purpose, until your eyes gave it one. Let us remember that within you, there is a kind of music that does not need sound, only vision, only stillness, only wonder. And tonight, as you rest, perhaps you will feel it again, that soft vibration in your thoughts, like a color not quite named. A shade of feeling, a frequency of calm, a melody of light meant only for you. Long before there were radios, long before any song was ever written down, the universe was already singing. Not in melodies made of air, but in pulses of light, in vibrations that move through space like a silent orchestra. Imagine a world where color is a note, where brightness is a rhythm, and where shadows are pauses in a cosmic composition. This is not fantasy. It is the hidden music of physics. Light, at its core, is a wave, and every wave has a frequency, a beat. Some are slow, some fast. Some are invisible, but all of them are part of a great and endless song. To begin understanding this music, we must first see that light is energy. It travels in waves, not unlike sound. But sound needs air to move, it is pressure pushed from molecule to molecule. Light, on the other hand, moves through nothing. It travels through vacuum, through the empty blackness of space, without ever losing its tune. A ray of sunlight begins at the heart of a star, dances across 93 million miles of space, and finally lands on your skin with the softness of a whisper. That journey is not random. It is patterned, precise, almost deliberate, like a note played with purpose. Each color of light has its own wavelength, a measure of how stretched or compressed the wave is. Red light has long, lazy waves. Blue light pulses faster, tighter. The visible spectrum, the range of light you can see, is like a narrow musical scale, only a small part of a much larger song. Below it lies infrared with waves too slow for your eyes. Above it, ultraviolet too fast. You don't hear these with your ears, but some scientists have translated them into sound. When this happens, light becomes audible, its frequencies remapped onto a musical scale. A sunset, when converted this way, sounds like a slow chord, full of warm hums and distant echoes. This process is called sonification, the turning of data into sound. Astronomers use it to hear light from distant galaxies. They assign notes to the brightness of stars, the position of planets, the shape of light curves. In one famous experiment, the ripples of gravitational waves, tiny tremors in spacetime, were turned into sound, and the universe let out a chirp. Not a loud one, not a thunderclap. Just a small upward tone, like a cosmic drop of water falling into stillness. It was the sound of two black holes merging. Not noise, music. Light, gravity, space, all becoming sound. But not all of this is far away. Your body is filled with rhythms, too. The cells in your retina, when struck by photons, release chemical signals that follow a pulse. These tiny reactions occur in waves, like tiny instruments tuning up inside your head. Even your brain emits electrical rhythms, alpha, beta, delta, all of them measured in hertz, just like the frequency of light. When you listen to music, your neurons fire in harmony with the beat. When you see a color, your mind processes the wave behind it. You are, in every sense, a receiver of the universe's hidden symphony. Some artists and scientists have gone further, creating instruments that let them play color. They map red to a deep cello sound, yellow to flutes, blue to high strings. A painting becomes a silent score. A forest in autumn turns into a rolling composition of orange brass and brown drums. These are not just metaphors. They are ways of translating one form of vibration, light, into another, sound. In doing so, they remind us that all senses are cousins. Sight and sound are not separate empires, but neighbors separated by scale. Your ears detect frequencies between 20 and 20,000 hertz. Your eyes detect light waves between roughly 430 and 750 terahertz, a much higher range. But both systems are tuned to catch vibration. Both translate invisible motion into something felt, known, and remembered. And sometimes these senses overlap. In rare cases of synesthesia, a person might hear a trumpet and see blue, or read a letter and taste lemon. The brain, in its complexity, sometimes lets the boundaries between senses dissolve. In that space, light truly becomes music. Imagine sitting in a room painted soft blue. You close your eyes, and a gentle melody begins to play, a slow piano, each note landing like a raindrop. Though you cannot see the blue anymore, you feel it, because your mind has stored that vibration and now mirrors it in sound. It is not a memory exactly. It is an echo, and it shows us that perception is not fixed. It flows and bends and hums in unseen ways. Throughout history, thinkers have wondered about the relationship between light and music. Pythagoras believed the planets moved in harmonic ratios, creating a music of the spheres too subtle for human ears. In the 1600s, Isaac Newton proposed a color music scale, mapping the 7 colors of the rainbow to the 7 notes of the musical scale. He called it divine symmetry. Today, we know that while the math isn't perfect, the metaphor still holds beauty. The universe does not play a melody in the way a violin does, but it vibrates, and those vibrations, when received by the human mind, become patterns, and those patterns become wonder. Even silence has its role. Just as rest notes give structure to a song, the absence of light can shape how we feel the return of brightness. A dark night makes sunrise more vivid. A silent room makes a lullaby more tender. The contrast is part of the experience. So when light is absent in deep space, in closed eyes, in shadow, the body waits. It remembers the frequency. And when light returns, the body recognizes the rhythm again. So what is the melody of light? It is not just color, it is not just brightness. It is a language without words, a song without sound. It is the way a beam falls across a wooden floor and makes you pause, the way a candle's flicker seems to calm your breath, the way sunlight filtered through leaves seems to sing without singing. These moments are real. They do not require explanation, only attention, only stillness, only a willingness to listen with more than ears. Let us follow the thread further now, into the heart of the idea that every wave of light may carry its own unheard harmony. Beneath every image you see, there is movement. Beneath every movement, there is rhythm. And within rhythm, there is always the possibility of music. Imagine looking at a glowing ember in a fireplace. It pulses gently, like a breath. That flickering red glow is the result of molecules vibrating in heat, releasing photons in the lower frequencies of visible light. But if you could stretch your imagination, you might hear it too, a soft hum of warmth, like a cello being played in slow motion. The ember doesn't make a sound, but your mind creates one anyway. This is what the science of perception teaches us, that you do not experience the world directly. Instead, your brain receives signals, patterns, pulses, fragments of information, and transforms them into stories. When light becomes music, it is not because the light has changed, but because your awareness has. That is why one person may look at a sunset and feel tears well up, while another sees only sky. The light is the same, but the reception differs. Some part of us is always tuning in, always adjusting the dials of emotion and meaning. In the 20th century, scientists began using sonification to explore the universe in new ways. Light curves from variable stars were turned into musical scales. The flicker of quasars became slow arpeggios. Even the magnetic field of the Earth, normally silent to human ears, was translated into a shifting drone. These sounds are not imagined. They are data reinterpreted. The rising and falling tones mirror the intensity of radiation, the curve of orbits, the glow of distant matter. In essence, the cosmos becomes a concert hall, and the instruments are made of space and time. The light from our own sun has a signature too. Though the sun is not silent, it emits radio waves and vibrates with seismic activity. Those vibrations are so low, we cannot hear them without help. When scientists sped them up, the sun began to sing. Not with melody, but with complexity, a layered hum, deep and resonant, like 1,000 gongs struck all at once. It is the music of mass, of heat, of fusion, and it reminds us that light is never just still. It is a restless traveler, humming its story as it moves. Consider how even ancient civilizations connected light and sound. In Hindu tradition, the sacred syllable Om is said to represent the vibration of the universe itself, the sound from which all existence flows. In many cultures, light and sound are joined in ceremony. Bells are rung as candles are lit. Chants are spoken in glowing temples. Fireworks blaze alongside drums. Even now, we light candles on birthdays and sing songs. Something deep within us knows that light and music belong together, that to see and to hear are twin acts of reverence. But the science goes deeper still. In your cochlea, the spiral-shaped part of your inner ear, tiny hairs detect vibrations and convert them into electrical signals. In your retina, light-sensitive cells do the same. Two different senses but remarkably similar systems. Some researchers believe that one day, we might develop ways to replace one with the other, to let blind people hear light or deaf people see sound. And indeed, experimental devices have already begun to do this. Glasses that turn light into tones, implants that convert sound into flashes of color. Slowly, the boundary between light and music blurs. Nature plays with this boundary too. There are birds whose feathers reflect ultraviolet light in precise, geometric patterns invisible to humans but dazzling to potential mates. Some of these displays follow mathematical ratios found in music: symmetry, repetition, variation. Bees navigate by polarized light, a pattern of brightness we cannot perceive, but which gives their world structure. Fireflies flash in synchronized rhythms, turning light into a kind of living tempo. Even deep-sea creatures use bioluminescence to signal and pulse in the darkness, like silent Morse code beneath the waves. You may never see these things firsthand, but knowing they exist adds texture to your understanding of the world, like discovering an instrument you've never heard before. The planet becomes more than a place. It becomes a score, written in shifting frequencies, waiting to be read in new ways. And suddenly, your own senses feel wider, more open. A soft blue curtain catching the morning light becomes not just a color, but a note in the day's opening movement. This blending of light and sound appears in art as well. In the 18th century, composer Louis Bertrand Castel invented the ocular harpsichord, an instrument that played both notes and colored lights. He believed that each note had a visual counterpart, and that seeing and hearing together would heighten emotion. Today, this idea lives on in modern concerts with synchronized lasers, in visual music pieces that pulse with light in time to symphonies, in movies where the color grading mirrors the soundtrack's emotional arc. But you don't need a concert hall to experience this. Step outside at twilight when the sky is deep purple and the air is still. Listen to the world, not for birds, not for voices, but for feeling. That hush you notice is part of the same continuum. It's the world adjusting its frequency, quieting its colors, slowing its tempo. Even your body reacts. Your pupils dilate, your breathing changes. You begin to move more slowly, as if you are syncing to a larger rhythm. That rhythm is not just external. Inside you, every cell pulses with its own cycle. The proteins that regulate your sleep respond to light. Melatonin rises as brightness fades. Circadian rhythms begin to sway. Your body, like your mind, hears the music of light. It listens with chemistry. It sings back with balance. So the next time you see light streaming through a window, casting soft gold on the wall, try to imagine what note it might be playing. Let the warmth on your skin feel like harmony. Let the shifting colors in a puddle feel like chords, because they are. Not in the traditional sense, not with melody or scale, but with vibration, with feeling, with presence. This is what it means when we say light becomes music. It is not a trick. It is not metaphor. It is perception stretched across the senses, a quiet understanding that everything at its core moves. And where there is movement, there is rhythm. And where there is rhythm, there is always a song. Let us now bring this journey to its final movement, not with a crescendo, but with a fading hum, the kind that lingers long after the last note has been played. When we speak of light becoming music, we are also speaking of the way the universe has shaped us to feel both. Not just with eyes and ears, but with breath, with memory, with the quiet parts of our thoughts. You are made of atoms forged in stars, and those atoms carry the same rhythms, the same harmonies, the same vibrations that pulse through light. In a way, you are the instrument the cosmos built to hear itself. The pineal gland in your brain, a tiny structure shaped like a pinecone, once drew the fascination of philosophers. It is sensitive to light, controlling the sleep hormone melatonin, but in some traditions it was thought to be the seat of the soul. This idea, while mystical, touches something real, that light has a profound effect on our inner life. Morning light makes you alert. Warm sunset hues make you reflective. Dim candlelight stirs intimacy. These are not accidents. They are orchestrations, not written in notes on paper, but in wavelengths and shadows. Consider color therapy, long debated yet quietly used across the world. Blue rooms for calm, yellow walls for joy, red for energy. While science continues to explore the depth of these effects, people often report feeling something deeper than just design, a shift, a mood, a tone set by color. In Japan, blue LED lights are used on train platforms to reduce suicide rates. In hospitals, lighting is adjusted to support patient recovery. It's as though light carries intention, or perhaps we project intention into it, allowing ourselves to be guided by the colors around us. Even the technology in your hands hums with these ideas. Your screen emits light tuned to mimic daylight, tricking your brain into alertness. That's why sleep experts recommend turning off devices before bed, not just because of distraction, but because the blue light suppresses melatonin. Your body, still ancient in its rhythms, doesn't understand digital sunsets. It listens to color, and when the tones stay too bright, it forgets to rest. To truly hear the music of light, we must sometimes return to silence, to firelight, to the soft pink of a cloudy dawn. Now think of your favorite song. Not the lyrics, not even the melody, but the feeling it gives you. That lift in the chest, the slowing of time, the tightening in the throat, that is vibration. It is energy moving through you in pattern and tone. Color can do this too. A deep violet robe, a splash of turquoise water, a warm sienna wall. They do not move, but they move you asterisk. That is the silent music, the one played not through sound, but through being. And perhaps in our evolution this was always meant to be. Our ancestors, painting with ochre in caves, watched firelight flicker across their walls. The dance of flame changed the reds, turned shadows into living shapes. That movement, that glow, it became part of the ritual, part of memory, part of story. Even now in art galleries, visitors pause in front of paintings without sound, yet feel as if something has been spoken. The color carries mood. The brushstroke holds tempo. A painting can be silent and still sing. In science labs, researchers have continued this exploration. In one project, the colors of space, the data from stars, galaxies, quasars were translated into music and sent back out into the cosmos as a message. Not in hopes of being heard, but in hopes of being felt. It was a gift, a reflection, a quiet way of saying, we are listening. Because the universe may be vast and mostly quiet, but silence does not mean emptiness. It means potential. And potential is the first note in every song. Now return, if you will, to your own daily life. Think of all the places where light and music touch without you noticing. The stained glass of a morning church, the golden hue of late afternoon sun, the flash of brake lights in rain, the gentle pulse of a nightlight, the flickering screen of an old film projector. These moments are small, but they are echoes of something larger. They remind you that perception is not passive, it is participatory. The world plays a melody, and you are the listener, and sometimes even the instrument. This is why, perhaps, we decorate our lives with both color and sound. We celebrate with music and candles. We mourn with somber tones and dim light. We set the mood with lamps, with playlists, with shadows. It's as though we instinctively understand that both light and sound shape not only the space around us, but the inner space within us. When you step into a dimly lit room and hear a soft song, your shoulders drop, your breathing slows, your awareness sharpens. The music and the color work together, like two hands tuning the same chord. And finally, let us not forget that beyond all science, beyond all data, there is feeling. The feeling of seeing a rainbow after rain, of standing under streetlights in snow, of watching sunbeams through dusty windows. These feelings cannot be charted. They cannot be measured in hertz or nanometers, but they are real and they are musical. And in those quiet, private concerts, when the light falls just right and the world softens, you feel it. The melody, the resonance, the silent music that light has always carried. So close your eyes, not to escape the world, but to hear it better. In the darkness, let your memory paint in color. Let every flash, every hue, every remembered shimmer rise up like notes from a hidden piano. There, in the quiet of your mind, you will find the final chorus. Light becomes rhythm, color becomes tone, and the universe, once silent, begins to sing. Imagine, if you will, placing your hand against a window bathed in soft morning light. The glass is cool but not cold. The light that passes through it is golden, warm, and slow, brushing your skin like a whisper. Though there is no sound and the glass does not speak, something still passes between you and it, a kind of silent communication, made not with words but with touch and color. It's easy to think of light as only something to see, yet it also touches. It lands on your skin, rests on your arms, dances across your face in waves both tender and ancient. And this touch, this invisible, radiant presence, carries something you feel, even if you do not always know how. From the moment you were born, light has touched you before memory could take shape. In a newborn's world, vision begins not with form, but with sensation. Soft brightness, deep shadow, warmth on the eyelids, these early experiences shape how your brain begins to map the world. Your skin feels light even before your eyes learn to see it. There is something remarkable in this. That color does not merely travel through your eyes, but across your entire body. It presses gently on your surface, and in return you respond with shivers, smiles, stillness. This is not magic. This is science woven with sensation. The skin, your largest organ, is a canvas of receptors. These tiny sensors detect temperature, vibration, and pressure, but they also respond in subtle ways to light. When ultraviolet rays strike your skin, your cells adjust, releasing melanin, producing warmth, prompting the body to create vitamin D, though you do not see this process. It is happening in real time every time you walk into sunlight. The light touches you and your body listens, not with eyes, not with ears, but with ancient chemical rhythms that remember the sun as an old friend. And beneath that skin, your nerves carry the signal to your brain, not just warm or bright, but something more complex, more layered. That sensation of standing in a patch of sunlight on a cool morning. It's not just temperature. It's not just vision. It's a blend of tone and texture, a quiet chorus of inputs that create a sense of presence. You are not just standing in the light, you are standing with asterisk it. And your nervous system, tuned over millions of years, knows how to welcome that presence like music played directly into the skin. There is a reason we associate certain colors with warmth and others with chill. Red feels like fire, even when it is paint on a page. Blue feels like ice, even in shadow. This is more than metaphor. Studies show that simply looking at warm colors can raise your skin temperature slightly. The body, it seems, responds to light not just in vision, but in sensation. And this brings us to something tender, something quiet. The way color becomes feeling, not in your heart or mind alone, but in your very body. Artists have always understood this. Painters speak of color temperature, balancing warm and cool tones to evoke mood, depth, and emotion. Interior designers choose wall colors not just for style, but for sensation: a pale green to soothe, a muted ochre to comfort, a deep burgundy to ground. These choices affect us whether or not we notice. They change how a room feels, how we move through it, how we speak in it. Color touches us silently with every glance. And beyond walls and paintings, nature does the same. Consider the way sunlight filters through the canopy of a forest. The leaves above break the light into waves of green, dappling the ground with shifting patches of brightness. To walk through this light is to be held in gentle movement, not just seen, but felt. Your skin warms and cools with each step as the filtered sunlight dances along your path. In that moment, you're not just seeing the forest, you're feeling the color of the forest, as if the trees themselves are humming across your skin. The same happens in water. Have you ever stood waist deep in a sunlit lake? The light enters the surface, bends through the water, and lands on your skin as something soft and shimmering. You can't catch it, but it holds you. The light becomes silk. It becomes warmth. It becomes something almost living, touching every inch of you with a presence that asks for nothing but stillness. These are the quiet moments when light stops being background and becomes companion. And there's more still. Infrared light, invisible to the human eye, is felt as pure warmth. It travels in longer waves, slipping through the air like gentle heat. That's why your skin warms under the sun even on a cloudy day. The clouds block some light, but not all. The infrared still reaches you, stroking your skin with invisible fingers, reminding you that color does not have to be seen to be known. This warmth, soft and slow, is a kind of whisper from the sky. And your body, old as the earth, knows how to listen. There are even medical uses for this touch. Infrared saunas, red light therapy treatments that use wavelengths of light to soothe pain, reduce inflammation, speed healing. The science behind them is growing, but the experience is already known to the body. People report not just relief, but calm. Not just results, but peace. As if being bathed in light reminds the cells of something they once knew, a language of frequency and warmth, spoken not in syllables but in sensation. So when you sit by a window and the late afternoon light pools around your feet, pause for a moment. Remove the idea of seeing. Instead, feel. Let the color press gently against you. Let the shadows lay their cool fingers across your arm. Let the golden hues fall across your face like soft wind. This is the silent color of touch, a moment when vision steps aside and perception rises in your skin like a memory returning home. Let's wander further now into the soft space where color meets sensation, where touch and light no longer behave like separate experiences. Imagine reaching toward a flower, a delicate pale pink petal unfolding under the sun. Before your fingers brush its edge, your skin already senses the warmth in the air, the golden hue surrounding it. The light touching the petal also touches you, and something within that exchange feels shared, as though you and the flower are part of the same glowing moment. This is not illusion. This is how the body listens to the world, not only through eyes or ears, but through skin, nerves, and the invisible impressions of light. The nervous system is a vast network of receptors, constantly collecting information not just from touch but from the environment, temperature, pressure, proximity, even the quality of the light. While it's easy to understand how we see color through the eyes, it is more subtle to realize how we feel it through the skin. Certain wavelengths of light have physical effects. Ultraviolet light triggers cellular defense, infrared generates warmth, and visible light guides the rhythms of hormones. Your skin is more than a barrier, it's a listener, a soft antenna for the symphony around you. Within this listening, we begin to notice something else, that color and emotion often travel together. We speak of someone feeling blue, of blushing red with anger or pink with affection. Though these are metaphors, they arise from real connections. The nervous system links sensory input with emotional response. A warm room painted amber may lower your heart rate. A soft lavender glow may ease tension in your shoulders. These sensations come not only from color as seen, but color as touched asterisk. Light, falling on your skin, enters your body like a breath, and the nervous system translates that breath into feeling. And memory plays its part. The golden shade of early evening may carry the comfort of childhood, of days ending in quiet dinners and open windows. A pale green might remind you of spring, of the scent of new grass, of the sound of bees, of the softness of a breeze through a window you once leaned against. When light touches you in those tones, the memories rise like warmth from a cup of tea. They are not just visual. They are layered through time, through sensation, through the nervous system that connects your present to your past. In clinical therapy rooms, these truths are applied gently. Calming blue light is used to soothe patients with anxiety. In certain recovery spaces, soft rose lighting promotes a sense of safety and quiet. These are not mystical ideas. They are responses observed again and again in the human nervous system. We are tuned to color, not just as a visual input, but as a full-body experience. Our nerves do not stop at the surface. They extend in feeling to the space around us. They invite the world to come closer, gently. And what of the places where light seems absent? A dark room is not empty. It is filled with potential, the soft echo of shapes, the memory of color, the anticipation of glow. If you've ever sat in a room lit only by candlelight, you know that your awareness changes. You move more slowly. Your voice softens. You begin to sense the warmth on your hands, the way the flame flickers across your face. The color is low and golden, and your body listens to it as if it were a song being hummed under a blanket. Touch becomes more powerful in such light. The coolness of fabric, the curve of a hand, the brush of a sleeve, all become clearer, richer, more profound. Light no longer dominates, and so touch takes center stage. But still, the light remains. It hums in the background, painting each moment with quiet tone. This interplay, the silent presence of color in a world of feeling, reminds us that light never truly leaves us. Even in shadow, it guides our perception. Even in dreams, light and touch are woven together. Many people report dreaming in color, though not everyone notices it. And when they do, the colors often carry weight: a blue hallway that feels cold, a red dress that feels urgent, a field of yellow that feels like freedom. These associations are personal, shaped by experience and emotion. But the connection is clear. Your mind stores color as feeling. And in sleep, when vision fades, touch and memory rise, guided by light that no longer shines but still speaks. Touch and color meet also in rituals, a wedding veil of soft ivory, a child's blanket in pastel hues, the robes of a monk dyed saffron with sunlight. These choices are not accidental. They are chosen because the color itself touches us. We feel the white as purity, the red as passion, the green as life. These are not just beliefs. They are experiences encoded through the nervous system, felt first by the skin and only then understood by the mind. There is even a kind of color that exists beyond physical light, the one imagined in your mind. Close your eyes and think of the brightest blue you've ever seen, perhaps a summer sky. That color lives in your memory, and as you recall it, something stirs in your chest. The skin may not feel it directly, but your body remembers what it felt like to be beneath that sky, the warmth, the breeze, the light wrapping around you. In that moment, the imagined color becomes almost tangible. It touches you through thought. This is what it means to feel light, to let color become sensation, to understand that seeing is not the only way we know. The body, in its quiet wisdom, receives more than we realize, and the skin, that gentle boundary between you and the world, becomes the place where color and emotion meet, where light writes stories that need no words. Let us now rest in the quiet conclusion of this exploration, in the place where light no longer needs to be named, where touch is no longer just a physical response, but a form of silent understanding. Think of a time when you stood beneath the sky at dusk, no longer bright, not yet dark. The light in that moment isn't golden or blue or violet, but something in between. It does not ask to be seen. It asks only to be felt. The warmth is fading, but still present. The colors are shifting, but still singing. That soft air brushing your face, that delicate weight on your skin, that is the silent color of touch. A feeling without edges, a sensation without demand. And in these moments, when color moves beyond brightness, it becomes story. The skin remembers light as it remembers music, not always in exact notes, but in tone, in weight, in rhythm. Just as you may hum a tune long after it's played, your body holds the echo of light long after it has passed. The warmth of a summer field, the flicker of firelight on your arms, the pale reflection of snow in winter air, all of it is still within you, not as pictures but as impressions. This is how the body keeps memory, not in color swatches or photographs, but in the way light once felt as it passed across you. This kind of memory is more than nostalgia. It is presence. It is the reason why, when you stand in front of a window on a rainy morning, and the gray light rests softly on your shoulders, you feel calm even if nothing has been said. The color has changed, the sound is different, but the sensation is whole. That quietness touches your skin as a kind of kindness, no need to rush, no need to decide, only to feel. In this way, light becomes a companion, one who never speaks but always answers. Our ancient ancestors knew this, though they may never have said it in words. They gathered around fires not only for warmth, but for the light it gave their skin, the flickering reds and oranges that made the world feel closer. They painted cave walls with pigments drawn from earth and ash, then watched as the light from the flames made the colors dance. To touch that painted stone was to feel the story. And to sit near the fire was to feel the presence of color, not with the eyes alone, but with every inch of being. Even now we mimic this instinct. We light candles not just for brightness, but for the atmosphere they bring. Their warm glow makes rooms feel smaller, safer, more personal. That golden light brushes the furniture, the curtains, the folds of a hand resting on a table, and suddenly everything feels softer. The shadows deepen. The air feels slower. You begin to notice your own heartbeat, your own breathing. In that space, light touches not only the skin, but the mood. It becomes a texture of emotion, a blanket for the senses. There are therapies that use this truth, touch and light together, layered in harmony. Massage under low amber light. Meditation in sunrise rooms. Gentle warmth combined with soft tones of color. These are not indulgences, they are alignments. They help the body return to its natural rhythms, the way your skin responds to sunlight in the morning, to shade in the evening, to the blues of twilight. When color and touch are woven together, the nervous system exhales. It remembers how to rest. And there are moments when this weaving happens unexpectedly. The golden shimmer through autumn leaves that lands on your sweater, the reflection of streetlights on your skin as you walk home in the rain, the way hospital rooms soften when a single shaft of afternoon sun finds the patient's hand. In these quiet minutes, touch and color dissolve into one another, and you realize that what you are feeling is not just sensation, it is connection. The world is not apart from you. It is brushing against you gently, offering its presence without noise. When a child draws with crayons, they do not choose colors only for accuracy. They choose what feels right: a purple tree, a red sky, a green sun. These choices are not mistakes, they are expressions. The child is not only seeing the world but feeling it and using color to share what cannot yet be spoken. And when that drawing is given to someone, it is more than an image. It is a touch in the form of hue, a message that says, "This is how I feel the world, and now you can feel it too." So too with memories of people. We remember the color of their clothes, the tone of their skin under a certain light, the way their hands looked in morning sun. These images return not as photos, but as sensations: the warmth of their presence, the glow that seemed to follow them. Light preserves these memories not by freezing them, but by soaking them into the texture of time. And when we recall them, it is as if a breeze has passed over us, gentle, almost unnoticed, yet deeply known. And this is the silent color of touch, not something rare or mystical, but something present every day. It is in the way your arm tingles when sunlight finds you after a long rain. It is in the hush that falls when lights are dimmed and a room begins to hold you instead of simply existing around you. It is in the warmth of a shadow, the coolness of blue light at dawn, the way candlelight wraps around your fingers like silk. It is the way the world reminds you that you are not alone in your sensing. So tonight, as the light fades and your body settles into stillness, know this: color is still with you. Even in the dark, your skin remembers the sun. Even in silence, your nerves remember warmth. The air carries traces of light you can no longer see, and your body, ever faithful, listens to them like a lullaby. Let yourself feel it. Let the darkness become soft. Let the quiet be filled with hue. And as sleep approaches, let the last sensation you carry be this: the color of touch, the touch of light, a silent comfort, held without sound, glowing softly in your skin. There is a moment when light touches glass and bends, where the ordinary world seems to pause. You've seen it before: a clear droplet on a leaf, a beam of sunlight through a window pane, a strand of hair catching light in just the right angle. In that brief encounter, the light divides. It does not break, not truly. It opens. It reveals. It becomes a rainbow. Not the kind that arches across the sky, but a smaller, quieter spectrum, a secret unfolding. This is refraction, the bending of light as it passes through a medium. But it is more than that. It is the memory of light carried in glass, in water, in every surface that can still recall how light once traveled through it. A prism is no more than a shaped piece of glass, yet what it does with light feels like magic. It receives white light, something that appears simple, whole, and shows us that it was never one color at all. Inside that single beam lives every color we know, each with its own rhythm, its own weight, its own story. Red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet, each one emerges in order like old friends lining up in silence. These are not painted on. They are revealed. The prism does not add anything. It reminds. It remembers what the light has always carried. Now imagine holding a prism in your hand on a sunny afternoon. You turn it slowly and the room comes alive with shifting patches of color. A splash of blue on the floor, a flicker of gold on your sleeve, a sudden arc of green across the wall. These aren't just accidents. They are stories of how light once moved through the air, through water, through stars. The prism is not a machine. It's a key, a translator. It bends the wave, and in doing so, it lets light speak in all its voices. Refraction happens because light slows down when it enters a new material. In air, it moves quickly. In glass or water, it hesitates, changes direction, and continues on. But different wavelengths, different colors slow down at slightly different rates. Red bends the least. Violet bends the most. That difference is what pulls the light apart into its spectrum. It is a reminder that even in unity there is diversity. Even in something that seems simple, like sunlight, there is infinite complexity waiting to be revealed. And this bending doesn't only happen in glass. It happens in the atmosphere, in every raindrop, in every shimmering edge of heat above a summer road. The mirage you see in the desert is not water. It's light refracted by layers of hot air. The shimmering pool at the horizon is memory bending. A bending that reminds you how perception is shaped not just by what is asterisk, but by how light carries its story to you. What you see is not only what is there, it is also how the world allows you to see it. The eye itself is full of refraction. The cornea and lens bend incoming light, focusing it on the retina. Without this bending, vision would be a blur, a smear of color without shape. And even then, the brain must interpret what the eye receives. So you see, the story of light is not just told in straight lines. It curves, it adjusts, it learns. A prism doesn't only show what light contains, it shows how it moves, how it remembers every surface it has passed through, every turn, every delay, every gentle shift in direction. In some ways, memory works like this too. A thought enters the mind pure and bright, but as it passes through layers of time, of emotion, of experience, it bends, it refracts. It becomes a spectrum, no longer a single moment, but a blend of feelings, images, and echoes. The memory of a day at the beach is not just one picture. It's the warmth of the sun, the salt in the air, the sharpness of the light on the water. Just as the prism turns one beam into many, the mind turns one memory into a spectrum of feeling. And just like light, some memories bend more than others. A fleeting smile might be violet, quick to shift, easily bent. A long goodbye might be red, slower, more stubborn in its path. The angles of time change how we remember. What once felt clear becomes layered. What once seemed distant can be brought close again with a single scent, a single color, a certain slant of light on the wall. That is what light does. That is what prisms teach. That there is no single truth, only layers, only bends, only the gentle unfolding of what was always inside. In stained glass windows, artists use prisms of a different kind. Shaped pieces of colored glass, held in place with lead, catching sunlight and painting walls with silent stories. In churches and cathedrals and quiet halls, these windows hold not just images but memories of light itself. As the sun moves across the sky, the colors shift. The reds deepen, the blues climb, the golds drift lower. The building becomes a clock of color, marking time not in hours but in hue. And as you sit beneath that shifting light, you feel not just warmth, but presence. The presence of all the light that has passed through that window, remembered in every flicker. So the next time you see a rainbow, or light bending through glass, or the shimmer at the edge of a bubble, pause. That is not just beauty. That is memory refracted. That is light recalling all the places it has been, all the surfaces it has passed through. And your eyes in that moment become prisms too, not just to see but to remember, not just to observe but to feel the quiet story of how light bends and breaks and continues, always carrying something of its past within its path. Let us follow light further now, into the places where it bends not only across surfaces but deep into time. Just as a prism separates white light into many hues, so too does memory divide a moment into layers, each one colored with emotion, with warmth, with distance. Think of an old photograph, one you haven't seen in years. The image is still, yet as you hold it in your hands, it begins to move. The light in that photograph, once real, once bouncing from a face or a tree or a window, now returns to you through memory. The colors may have faded, but the feeling is alive. That's because your mind is a kind of prism too. One that doesn't just reflect light, it transforms it. Light in its purest form moves straight until it meets something that changes its path: glass, water, a molecule, a memory. Each new surface is a chance for it to shift, to become something else. This is not loss. This is adaptation. And in the human mind, the same happens. A single day can become many stories over time. One memory can unfold into joy, sorrow, wisdom, or laughter, depending on the angle of recollection. The prism does not lie. It simply shows the many truths held within one beam, and so too does time. In the world of crystals and minerals, there are prisms formed not by hand but by earth itself. Quartz, for example, splits light in ways so precise that entire industries use it to measure and guide energy. But beyond machines and tools, crystals have long been seen as keepers of light. Their facets catch even the smallest flicker and stretch it into something visible, tangible. In ancient cultures, people believed certain stones held memories of places, of events, of people long gone. Whether or not the science agrees, the metaphor holds. A crystal is a structure that remembers light. It stores the story of how photons once passed through. Water, too, acts as a prism. A drop of dew on a blade of grass, a bead of sweat on a brow, the curve of a tear, each one catches light and refracts it into color. And just as water reflects the world, it also holds history. The water you drink today may have passed through clouds, rivers, roots, and oceans for thousands of years. And when sunlight hits it, it shows not only your reflection, but the past bending through its surface. The shimmer on a lake, the sparkle in a puddle, these are not just effects. They are echoes of all the light that came before, remembered in ripples and waves. Scientists have studied how ancient glass, buried for centuries, still responds to light. Even after ages underground, it can catch the sun and scatter color like something newly made. That is because light never forgets how to move through structure. Even in silence, even in stillness, its patterns remain. And this tells us something important, that memory is not just stored in the mind. It can be held in matter, in shape, in the way something lets light through or stops it. Memory, like light, travels, and where it lands, it leaves a mark. In modern optics, we use prisms not only to reveal color, but to control it. Lasers are tuned by bending light through crystal structures. Telescopes use lenses to adjust incoming starlight. Fiber optics send pulses of light through hair-thin strands of glass, bending them around corners, through walls, across oceans. These tools bend light with precision, with purpose. But they rely on the same principle as a rainbow. Light shifts when it moves from one space into another. The difference is only in intention. Nature bends light by chance. Technology bends it by design, but both carry memory forward. This same bending happens within us. In the brain, signals of light travel from the retina to the visual cortex, where they are processed and shaped into understanding. But those signals do not always move in straight lines. They pass through layers of interpretation, through expectation, emotion, experience. That's why two people can see the same sunset and feel entirely different things. The light was the same. The bending was not. Each mind is its own prism, its own lens through which the world is colored. Even in literature and art, this concept appears again and again. A character lit by a candle is not only illuminated, they are softened. Shadows fall gently. The glow bends around their features, making them more human, more complex. The artist uses light to add layers, just as a prism does. And when you read about a golden morning or a silver moon, those colors shape your emotional response. You may not notice it, but your brain does. It recalls how those hues once felt on your skin. The light in the story becomes your own. This is why we hang crystals in windows, not for function but for beauty. We wait for sunlight to hit just right so that a rainbow appears on the floor, on the wall, on a child's face. In that instant, we feel something shift, not in the room but in ourselves. The bending of light becomes a moment of wonder, a pause, a breath, a memory not of any one thing but of the way light can remind us we are alive. And so, when you hold a glass of water up to the sun, or watch light scatter on a river, or see a faint spectrum in the mist of your breath on a cold morning, know this: the light you see is not just brightness. It is the path of memory, the angle of feeling, the quiet unfolding of color long held in silence. The prism does not change the light. It reveals what was always there. And in doing so, it teaches us that we, too, are full of color, full of stories, full of reflections, waiting to be seen in a different way. Now let us rest gently at the final curve of this path, where light, bent and stretched through time and matter, becomes more than color or vision. It becomes memory itself, carried not just through reflections and refractions, but through presence. Consider the way morning sun slips through curtains and lands across an empty chair. There is no one there, and yet it feels like someone was. The light, soft and golden, remembers the shape of a body once seated, the warmth of hands once folded, the hush of voices now gone. It lays itself down gently, like a memory returned, needing no words to be known. In this way, light creates its own kind of permanence, not by staying still but by passing through, again and again, across windows, across mirrors, across the smooth face of time-worn glass. A mirror does not hold the light it reflects, yet it becomes the keeper of many images. Every glance, every flicker of brightness it once echoed remains in the mind of the one who saw it. The prism, too, does this, in its own way. Not as a photograph or recording, but as a moment lived in sensation, where the arc of color across the wall is tied to the sound of morning birds, or the scent of tea, or the stillness of thought. Our minds do not store memories as straight lines. They are scattered and curved, bent through experience. The smell of a book's pages might bring back the exact light that once poured over a school desk. The color of a scarf might echo the blue of a long-forgotten sky. We are full of prisms, all of us. And every time the present passes through them, it becomes something new. Not simply seen, but remembered, reshaped, refracted through the lens of everything that came before. This is why we seek places touched by light, museums, libraries, chapels, open meadows, not only for what we see there, but for what we feel. In the way stained glass filters the sun into violet pools beneath your feet. In the way ancient ruins glow golden at dusk. In the way a single beam of sun through clouds can still a whole crowd. These are not random experiences. They are light moving through the prisms of our awareness, shaping not just color but wonder. We may forget the hour, the date, the details, but we will remember the hue, the angle, the stillness it created in us. Even the smallest acts echo this truth. A child places a marble on the windowsill and watches as the afternoon light bends through it. Colors bloom across the floor, then slowly fade. Years later, that same child, now grown, sees sunlight touch a glass in a cafe and pauses. The memory is not a photograph. It is a sensation, a feeling, a shape of light held within them like a quiet refrain from a song once sung. The prism did not hold the light. The person did. And that is where light's memory lives, not in the objects it passes through, but in the hearts that noticed. Science tells us that photons, the particles of light, do not age. They travel through space without experiencing time. A photon born in a star 1 billion years ago arrives in your eye today unchanged. And yet what it touches is transformed. The leaf it lands on grows. The skin it warms softens. The eye it enters begins a thought, a dream, a tear. Light does not carry time, it awakens it in us. And in that awakening, memory begins. There are mirrors in old houses that seem to hum with stories, not because they remember, but because they remind. The same light that once illuminated a face in 1892 passes through the same window pane now, and though the moment is gone, the angle is the same. The warmth is the same. And in your chest, something stirs, a feeling not of looking back, but of being seen by time itself. This is how the prism remembers. Not by freezing, but by returning again and again through different eyes, different hearts, different days. In music, a motif returns throughout a piece, familiar, yet always slightly changed. So too with light. The same sunrise you've seen every day of your life never feels quite the same. The colors shift with weather, with mood, with memory. And yet it touches you as though it knows exactly who you are that day. Light carries no intention, but it creates connection. The curve of its path through a glass of water on your desk can pull you from distraction into presence, into the now, into the story of this very moment. Let that be the closing reflection of this story, that prisms, though silent, hold something deep. They bend not just light, but understanding. They remind us that nothing seen is ever truly singular. Every glance is a composite. Every flash of color is a chorus. And within you, the observer, the receiver, the listener, there is a prism too. One that takes the ordinary beam of the world and turns it into meaning, into warmth, into memory. So tonight, as the light softens and your body prepares to rest, let yourself remember a color you once saw. Not just with your eyes, but with your skin, your breath, your thoughts. Let it return like a ribbon of light curling through a crystal. Let it remind you that you are, in your own way, made of prisms too, and every moment that touches you becomes, quietly, a memory of light. Within the folds of your mind, there is a quiet concert happening every moment you are alive. It does not play on strings or keys, and no breath is needed to carry its notes. Instead, it moves through pulses, through tiny sparks of electricity that leap between neurons like whispers passing in the dark. And though you may not hear it, your brain is always humming. And what it hums, sometimes, is color. Not the pigment itself, not light on the eye, but something deeper, the echo of color as feeling, as rhythm, as thought. These are the colors the brain sings without sound. From the moment light enters the eye, the transformation begins. Photons strike the retina and photoreceptor cells, cones and rods absorb them. Cones are tuned to specific wavelengths, one for short waves blue, one for medium green, and one for long red. The rods, meanwhile, don't see color at all but are masters of shadow and shape. These signals are sent to the brain, not as colors yet, but as electrical codes, pulses, patterns, waves. It is the brain that weaves them together, layering one frequency over another, creating the experience of sight. But even when the eyes are closed, the song of color does not end. In dreams, color returns. Some people see in vivid blues and golds, others in dusky, fatting hues. Some claim to dream in black and white, though scientists suggest it's often memory, not perception, that dulls the color. Regardless, the brain remembers how to build color from nothing. It does not need light. It only needs rhythm. When a memory surfaces, a red bicycle, a yellow scarf, a green hillside, your brain replays the song it once composed. The original light may be long gone, but the melody remains. There is something astonishing in this. That color to your brain is not fixed to the outside world. It is part of your inner life. Studies show that imagining a color activates nearly the same neural pathways as seeing it. Think of orange and your brain lights up in patterns almost identical to when you see a real sunset. These activations ripple across the visual cortex, and sometimes beyond, into emotional centers, memory networks, even touch-sensitive areas. That is why certain colors feel like places, why a single shade can carry weight, can tighten the chest, can calm the heart. This quiet symphony extends even further in those with synesthesia, a rare but profound blending of the senses. For them, numbers may be blue, days of the week may be colored, sounds may flash as bursts of light across the mind's eye. A violin's high note may bloom into pink, a trumpet's call into orange. To a synesthete, color is not confined to the eye. It arrives uninvited, unsought, yet perfectly consistent. These experiences are not hallucinations. They are cross-wirings, a deeper harmony between neural pathways, where sensory data spills from one stream into another. But even without synesthesia, your brain plays with color in curious ways. Optical illusions that make gray appear blue or red appear orange show that context matters. The surrounding colors, the shadows, the expectations, all influence how the brain interprets the signal. The color you see is not always what is there. It is what your brain thinks should be there. And that guess is shaped by everything you have ever seen, every place you have ever stood in light. Now imagine closing your eyes in a sunlit room. The brightness seeps through your lids, casting the world behind your eyes in a soft red-orange glow. That color, though muted, is not imagined. It is the body receiving light, the brain processing it through blood and skin and nerve. You are seeing with your whole self. And if you stay in that moment, something else may come, a memory, a scent, a warmth. The color becomes more than color. It becomes song, not one you can hum, but one you feel in the hush of your thoughts. In the silence of meditation, practitioners often describe seeing colors, purples, blues, golds flowing behind closed eyes. Science suggests this may be the brain's natural rhythm rising into awareness. The colors are not hallucinations, but signals, perhaps the dance of alpha waves, or the gentle stirring of inner vision. These moments are not guided by the eye, but by the harmony of mind and breath. The brain, in deep stillness, begins to sing to itself. Even language reveals this connection. We say we feel blue or that something brightens our day. We speak of people being green with envy or seeing red. These are not coincidences. They are reflections of how deeply color is embedded in our emotional vocabulary. It is not that color causes feeling. It is that color is feeling translated into visual code. The brain, ever the composer, weaves these connections not through logic, but through time, experience, and sensitivity. In music composition, some artists assign specific keys or instruments to colors, a concept known as color music. A note in C major might feel yellow. A D minor chord might evoke deep blue. While not universal, these associations often emerge in people who feel deeply, who listen not only with ears but with their full senses. And science supports this, showing that both music and color activate similar emotional and sensory areas of the brain. They are not separate languages. They are dialects of the same quiet voice inside you. So the next time you see a color, not just notice it, but feel it. Know that your brain is doing more than reacting. It is composing. It is building layers of meaning from frequency and form. The yellow on the wall is not just pigment, it is warmth remembered. The violet in the sky is not just light scattered, it is longing. The teal of the ocean is not just reflection, it is rhythm. Your brain, in its silence, sings these truths constantly. You need only listen without ears to hear it. Let's drift now into the deeper folds of perception, where the colors we feel are not always the ones we see, and where the brain's quiet orchestra performs with no audience but you. Consider how you respond to a memory, not just with facts, but with flashes of color. A summer's day might return not only with a blue sky, but with the very feeling of that blue, cool, wide, endless. A grandparent's hug might echo in dusty rose or warm amber, colors not always present in the memory's photograph, but embedded in how the brain chooses to keep it. This is the mind's canvas, and it paints in tones you've never fully named. What makes this possible is the incredible sensitivity of the brain to pattern. It does not store memories as linear files, but as interwoven networks of sensation, feeling, and sensory echoes. When you recall an event, the brain lights up in multiple places at once. Vision, sound, smell, emotion, and color often rides on those waves. A scent may pull forth not just a location, but the deep green of childhood gardens. A piece of music might awaken a memory not only of sound, but of red curtains and golden light. These associations are real. They form part of the emotional weight that gives memory its meaning. And sometimes the brain uses color to fill in what's missing. In the absence of detail, it supplies sensation. That's why daydreams have color even when they're blurry. That's why you can imagine a scene, a sunset in a place you've never been, and still assign it tones of orange, lavender, and navy. Your brain does not need proof to build experience. It only needs rhythm, frequency, and feeling. In this way, it becomes a projector, casting soft, colored light onto the screen of your inner world. Color also plays a key role in learning and recognition. Studies show that people remember colored images better than black and white ones. Certain colors boost attention, others enhance calm. This isn't just psychological, it's neurological. Color increases stimulation in the visual cortex and affects the release of neurotransmitters like dopamine and serotonin. These chemicals regulate mood, focus, and memory consolidation. So when you study in a room with soft blue walls or highlight a page with bright pink, your brain is more likely to retain the information. The color has become a signal, a structural part of understanding. But color perception itself is not static. It shifts with age, with emotion, even with language. Some cultures have more words for specific shades, multiple names for blue or green, while others blend them into a single concept. This changes how the brain encodes color. Language is not just a label, it is a lens. The way you describe a color shapes how your brain stores it, how it compares it, how it connects it to other ideas. A child taught to see sky blue and ocean blue as different will experience the world with more visual granularity. Their brain will sing two separate notes instead of one. In moments of emotional intensity, color often takes center stage. Traumatic memories may become saturated with harsh reds or void blacks. Moments of peace may arrive as pale gold or gentle lavender. These are not conscious choices. They are impressions formed at the time of the experience, shaped by the nervous system's chemical response. Adrenaline sharpens contrast. Oxytocin softens edges. The result is not a photograph but a painting, one that changes each time you recall it, not because the memory fades, but because the emotional light illuminating it bends. Even more curious are the mental colors that arise during altered states, through meditation, fasting, illness, or deep grief. People describe seeing glowing greens during deep prayer or sudden blues in the silence of mourning. These colors may appear with eyes closed, or even when all light is absent. They come not from the outside world but from within, not as hallucinations, but as expressions of inner rhythm. The brain, facing deep emotion or stillness, begins to color its thoughts in ways that transcend ordinary vision. These colors may never be seen again, but their imprint lingers. This inner color palette is also shaped by culture and memory. In some traditions, white is the color of mourning. In others, red symbolizes purity. The brain does not resist these meanings, it incorporates them. Over time, the symbols become part of the emotional code. So when someone sees a white flower on a grave, the feeling it evokes is not in the flower itself, but in the deep neural network of meaning and memory that blooms within the observer. Color then becomes a language, and the brain its fluent speaker. Art therapy uses this connection wisely. Patients are often asked to draw their feelings in color, even if they cannot name the emotion. A swirl of angry black, a trembling field of yellow, a chaotic tangle of red and green, these are not random. They are the mind translating its rhythms into form. Even those who struggle with language, children, trauma survivors, the elderly, can often express complex emotions through color. Because color bypasses logic, it enters through sensation. And the brain, ever listening, sings back in kind. There is also evidence that color influences decision-making. People are more likely to choose a snack in red packaging or trust a financial product presented in blue. These responses are not always conscious. The color activates emotional associations, sometimes tied to safety, warmth, excitement, or trust, and the brain responds before words ever form. Marketers know this. Designers, too. But beneath the strategy lies something older, more human. A brain that has always used color to navigate a world too complex to grasp all at once. And so we return to the idea that your brain is singing not with sound but with sensation. Each time you look at a leaf or a flame or a sky shifting from gray to gold, you are hearing something. Not through your ears but through the intricate language of perception. Your neurons fire in rhythm. Your thoughts bloom in hue. Your memories shimmer with undertones. And in the quiet of your own awareness, you feel the color, not just as sight, but as truth. Let us now come to the final quiet swell of this story, to the place where color, memory, and emotion begin to blend so seamlessly that the edges between them blur, and all that remains is sensation. The brain, at rest or in thought, does not sit in silence. It continues to hum in frequencies too delicate to be heard, too fluid to be held. These frequencies do not need notes to make music. They need only pattern, and the pattern becomes color. Not the kind you see outside of you, but the kind you feel when a thought arrives, or when a long-forgotten memory glides quietly into view and leaves behind a shade of feeling you can't name, but recognize. Consider the still moment after a day ends, when your room begins to dim and the colors on the walls begin to lose their edges. That slow retreat of color from your environment mirrors a change inside your brain. Your body begins to produce melatonin, your breathing slows, and your awareness turns inward. But in that inward shift, the brain does not go dark. It grows quieter, yes, but more vivid in another way. It begins to paint from memory. The dreams it will soon weave are full of places that don't exist, people who have never met, but somehow, always, the colors are familiar. The dusty orange of a corridor you've never walked. The pale green of a garden that never was. These inner visions are made not of logic, but of emotional light. This emotional light does not need your eyes. It lives in the folds of your cortex, where experience is stored not as images alone, but as coded feeling. And the color of those feelings is shaped by thousands of quiet encounters. The way a field looked at dusk when you were 10, the color of your mother's sweater in the winter of grief, the hue of your room the day you first felt peace again. These are not things you can always recall with precision, but they are never lost. The brain keeps them, softened around the edges like watercolor pressed into paper. And when the right moment comes, a scent, a sound, a soft word, the color rises again, fully alive. The same happens in solitude. When you sit in a room with no one else around, the brain continues to color the silence. The walls may be gray, the light may be low, but inside, impressions move. You might remember a lake and suddenly feel blue, not sad, but expansive. Or recall a celebration and feel yellow, not just joy, but warmth, a softness that cannot be spoken. These internal colors do not need light to exist. They are the echoes of perception, songs the brain composed long ago, still playing in the background. And sometimes these inner colors rise even when we're not ready for them. A panic attack might flood the mind with red, sharp, fast, overwhelming. A deep sadness may settle in as a slow blue, cool and wide and still. These are not metaphors. The brain, in its processing of fear or grief or hope, lights up in waves of activity. And because those waves once traveled alongside colors in the outside world, the inner color returns. The red of danger, the blue of stillness, the gray of uncertainty. The mind is not separate from the world. It carries the palette of your life within it, ready to stir whenever you feel. Artists who paint not from sight but from emotion often describe this experience. They say a memory demands to be blue, a dream insists on green. They mix colors not to capture the world but to echo the one inside them. And those who see these paintings may not know the story behind the colors, yet still feel something. That's because the brain responds to color before it responds to detail. A soft painting in gold can calm the heart. A canvas bursting in crimson can startle, energize, provoke. The brain receives before it interprets. It feels before it names. In this way, color becomes a quiet form of empathy, a bridge from one mind to another. A painter in silence, a writer describing a honeyed dusk, a child choosing a purple crayon to draw their home, each is offering a glimpse of their inner color. And when we see it, we recognize it. Maybe not with words, but with feeling, with a shift in breath, with a pause. That is the brain singing in resonance with another. Science, for all its precision, continues to discover how little we understand about this quiet inner world. Neuroscientists map the visual cortex, the emotion centers, the memory paths. They watch colors activate areas of the brain tied to language, to touch, even to pain. Yet beyond the data, there remains something elusive, the why of it. Why does one shade stir joy? Why does another bring tears? Why do we dream in color at all? The answers may never be certain. But the feeling is always real. And so the brain continues night and day, wakeful or dreaming, painting your world not only with what you see, but with how you feel. The colors of your mind are not illusions. They are truths written in pulse and rhythm, in light and shadow, in chemistry and memory. They are the silent chorus that underlies every thought, every hope, every glance. Let that be the closing reflection of this story, that even in silence, even in the stillest parts of your being, color sings. The brain, that quiet composer behind your eyes, builds worlds with no light at all. And every shade it conjures is not simply a hue, it is a harmony, a note of meaning, a whisper of who you are. So when the day fades and your thoughts begin to drift, listen gently. Somewhere inside you, the colors are still singing. In the stillness of a meadow, where the wind barely stirs and the air holds its breath, there is listening taking place, not by ears, not with sound, but through something more ancient. The plants, standing in quiet rows or growing wild along the forest edge, are tuned to the sun, not in the way we are with eyes that open and shut, but in a deeper rhythm. Their leaves follow the light. Their stems turn toward it. Their lives are shaped by its rise and fall. To them, sunlight is not only warmth or brightness, it is instruction, it is presence, it is a voice they have always known how to hear. From the moment a seed breaks open, it is reaching toward light. Even buried in darkness, it knows the direction where light must be. This knowing is not thought but response, a cellular wisdom passed down through endless generations. As the first shoot curls upward through soil, tiny sensors within the plant detect changes in light. These sensors are proteins, carefully tuned to specific wavelengths. They don't see, but they do sense. They measure not just how bright the light is, but what kind it is, whether it is morning blue, noonday white, or evening gold. To a plant, the color of sunlight is a map, guiding growth, sleep, bloom. These proteins are called photoreceptors, and they are the plant's ears, its eyes, its clock. One type, called phytochrome, responds to red and far-red light. Another, cryptochrome, is sensitive to blue. Together, they allow the plant to track day and night, shadow and shine, season and shift. When sunlight touches a leaf, these receptors activate signals that move through the plant like soft waves, not electric like our nerves, but chemical, slow and sure. These signals tell the plant what to do: to stretch, to fold, to flower, to rest. In this way, the plant listens not to the sound of light, but to its shape, its hue, its rhythm. And the rhythm matters. Plants do not grow with the sun's light alone, but with its timing. They know how long a day lasts. They measure minutes of brightness, compare them to the dark. This internal system is known as the circadian clock, the same kind of timekeeper found in humans and animals, though shaped by different hands. With it, plants wake and sleep. Some flowers open at dawn and close by dusk. Others do the opposite. Some leaves fold inward each night like quiet wings. These movements are not random. They are responses to light's whispers, to the way it returns, recedes, softens. Now imagine a sunflower, tall and steady, its face following the arc of the sun from morning to evening. This behavior is called heliotropism. It looks like devotion, and in some ways it is. The plant is not thinking, but it is sensing. It knows where the light is, and it turns slowly, cell by cell, stem by stem, to meet it. This turning is driven by growth. One side of the stem elongates more than the other, causing the bend. At night, the flower resets, facing east once more, ready for dawn. Each cycle is a kind of listening, a call and response with the sky. In forests, this listening becomes more complex. Trees compete for light, reaching upward in layered canopies, stretching their limbs into open space. Beneath them, smaller plants grow wide leaves to catch what little light falls through. Vines twist toward brightness, while roots remain in darkness. Every part of the plant, leaf, stem, flower, holds some awareness of the sun's pattern. Even in total shade, plants can detect whether their neighbors are growing close by sensing changes in the light spectrum. They notice how red light fades and far red increases, a sign that other plants are absorbing the light above. In response, they may stretch taller or delay flowering or change direction. They are always adjusting, always listening. And this listening goes deeper still. Light tells plants not just when to grow, but how. In certain wavelengths, it prompts the production of pigments, the chlorophyll that makes leaves green, the anthocyanins that turn leaves red and purple in autumn. These colors are not just for show. They are part of the plant's language. They reflect light in specific ways, protect cells from damage, attract pollinators. A red apple catches your eye because the tree has tuned its color to the vision of birds and mammals who might carry its seeds. The plant does not speak, but it expresses. Its message is light, shaped into color, offered to the world. Even underground, light's rhythm is felt. Roots may never see the sun, but they follow its timing. Signals from the leaves guide the roots' growth, directing energy and water. The entire plant, though divided by darkness and light, remains in conversation with itself, using the language of photons and chemicals, of pulses and pauses. In this way, the plant is a complete listener, above and below, in stillness and in change. And when the season shifts, the plant listens again. Days grow shorter. The angle of light softens. The plant reads this change not as danger but as transition. It begins to slow. Leaves change color, fall. Energy is drawn inward. Seeds form, fall, wait. All of this is guided by light's subtle signals, the shortening day, the reddening sky. These cues are ancient. They tell the plant what time it is, not just on the clock, but in the year, in the cycle, in the life. So when you next walk through a garden or a field, know this. You are not alone in your sensing. Around you, every blade of grass, every vine, Every flower is listening with you, not with ears, not with sound, but with an old, patient attentiveness. The sun speaks to them in golden syllables, in violet songs, and they answer by growing, by bending, by blooming. You may not hear it, but if you sit still long enough, you may feel it, the silent conversation between plant and light, between sky and leaf. A rhythm older than language, a harmony shaped in green. Let us now wander beneath the canopy, where light becomes a quiet drip of gold through layered green, and the listening continues in every silent movement. Here, the rhythm of sunlight is not only about brightness, it is about the passage of time. Plants, though rooted, are never still. They measure time not with clocks, but with changes in light. Every rising sun, every passing cloud, every softening dusk is read like a note in a song. And the plant responds gently by shifting itself, a tilt of a leaf, a curl of a tendril, the slow unfurling of a bud. Inside each cell, there are molecules acting as tiny timekeepers. These circadian oscillators don't tick like gears. They pulse. They regulate when genes are turned on and off, when sugar is made, when water is drawn in, when rest begins. All of this is guided by light, especially blue light in the early day and red as it fades. These colors are not arbitrary. They mark the edges of change. A plant knows morning not just by brightness, but by the quality of the light, the cooler tone, the specific angle. And it knows evening by the warmth that comes, low and quiet across the sky. Some plants even adjust their defenses based on time. They produce more protective compounds during the day when the sun is strongest and relax at night. This rhythm is not about surviving moment by moment, it is about preparing. Light tells them not just what is, but what is coming. That is the magic of circadian rhythm. It anticipates. It lets a plant act not in reaction, but in expectation. A kind of memory, shaped not in thoughts, but in patterns repeated through light. And in this way, the plant becomes a mirror of its environment. A sunflower reflects the sky not only in shape, but in timing. A night-blooming jasmine opens only when the stars begin to hum. Desert plants hide during the day and wake in the twilight. Tropical leaves shine brightest in early morning. Each species, each leaf, listens to its own part of the sun's symphony. And together they create a landscape of light, each plant a note, each meadow a phrase, each forest a slow-moving chord. But the listening does not end with the sun. Plants are also tuned to moonlight, to shadow, to the faintest glint of starlight. Some seaweeds and algae rise and fall in rhythm with the moon, their movement guided by the glow that filters through water. Even land plants have shown sensitivity to the lunar cycle, adjusting growth slightly in accordance with night brightness. It is not the strength of the light that matters. It is the regularity, the rhythm, the signal that says, change is near. And then there are plants that do more than respond, they communicate. Some flowers close their petals not only when night comes, but when a storm is near. Others release scent only when pollinators are likely to visit, guided by light's timing. Still others adjust their leaf angles to avoid midday heat, reducing evaporation, a subtle act of listening that protects life. These behaviors, though not thought-driven, are decisions. The plant listens, weighs, responds. In laboratories, scientists have experimented by changing the color or duration of light to see how plants react. A shift in wavelength can change how a leaf grows, whether a seed germinates, or when a flower blooms. One study found that a plant exposed to red light before dawn bloomed earlier than one exposed to blue. Another showed that even a flash of light in the middle of the night could reset a plant's entire cycle. This means that light is not only a source, it is a signal. It speaks and the plant answers. And yet this language is not one of commands but of suggestions. Light does not force the plant to grow. It invites, it creates conditions. The plant in turn responds with patience, with intention. That is why gardens bloom differently each year. The pattern of clouds, the angle of sun, the temperature at dawn, these all become part of the conversation. No 2 days are alike and no 2 responses are the same. The plant listens anew each morning. Think of this the next time you pass a tree at sunset. Its leaves catch the golden light, and in doing so, they are not just reflecting, they are receiving. Deep within their cells, photosynthesis begins to slow. Sugars are moved into storage, growth shifts. A kind of soft quiet enters the branches. The tree does not sleep, but it rests. Its listening becomes softer, slower, deeper. The color of light has changed, and so the response changes too. This is not reaction, it is harmony. Even decay is part of this rhythm. In autumn, as days shorten and light fades earlier, plants begin to let go. Leaves change color not because they are dying, but because the plant is withdrawing. Chlorophyll, the green pigment, is reabsorbed. In its absence, other pigments, reds, oranges, yellows, begin to show. These colors were always there, hidden beneath the green, waiting for their time. And when they emerge, it is the plant's way of marking time, of saying, "The light has changed, and so must I." And still the listening goes on. Even a bare branch, even a dormant root holds memory of light. It waits through winter, sensing the length of night, storing information. And when the days begin to lengthen once more, when light returns just a little earlier each day, the plant responds. Buds swell, leaves unfurl. The listening becomes movement again, growth, bloom, not because it is told, but because it remembers. This is what it means for a plant to listen to the sun. It is not a passive act. It is an active relationship shaped by rhythm and repetition. It is patience wrapped in green, rooted in earth, reaching toward the sky not for light alone, but for meaning, for instruction, for presence. And in this presence, we are reminded that listening does not require words. Sometimes it only requires stillness and the courage to respond when light returns. Now let us sit at the edge of this story, where the leaves rest in golden silence and the sun lowers itself gently beyond the hills. In this final stretch of light, the listening continues, but now it is softer, slower, more reflective. A tree, once alive with the shimmer of midday, now holds its stillness like a breath. And in that stillness, something profound is happening. The plant is not just reacting to light. It is remembering it, the hours it has counted, the colors it has seen, the patterns it has followed. All of these become part of its growth, written not in journals but in rings, in roots, in the tilt of each leaf. Light is not only what plants live by, it is what they remember. This memory is not like ours, not a collection of pictures or stories. It is cellular, it is seasonal, it is woven into structure. A plant that has lived through drought knows how to ration water. One that has bloomed early in fall spring may wait longer next time. Even a seed, before it ever sees the sun, carries within it the legacy of how its ancestors listened to light, when to rise, how to stretch, when to rest. These are not choices. They are inheritances, passed down through chloroplasts and encoded in the quiet swirl of DNA. And still the listening does not stop. In greenhouses, plants adjust to artificial cycles of light. Under red lamps or blue, they bend and grow, responding not just to brightness, but to hue, to duration, to pause. They are learning in every moment, not as we do, with questions, but with unfolding. Each new angle of light reshapes the plant's future, telling it where to send its energy, how to shield its tender leaves, when to open its blossoms. It is a kind of choreography, where the steps are guided by the invisible hand of shifting photons. Consider a vine in the corner of a room. With no direct light, it still finds its way toward the window. It lengthens, leans, seeks. And when it finds the sun, it turns its leaves outward like small, green faces basking in what it has found. This seeking is not confusion. It is clarity. The plant knows in the rhythm of its cells that light is life, not just fuel but guide. And so it listens with its whole being, not only above the ground but beneath it. Roots follow gradients of moisture and warmth, both shaped by the sun's presence. Even in darkness, the sun's echo lingers. In places where light is scarce, the forest floor, the far north, the depths of caves, plants adapt their listening. They grow wide, thin leaves to capture what little reaches them. Some glow faintly under ultraviolet light, others bloom only in brief pulses of daylight. There is a kind of wisdom in this restraint. These plants do not chase light in vain. They wait. They listen more carefully. And in doing so, they learn how to make the most of what arrives. Even decay is not an end, but a return. When leaves fall, they do not disappear. They break down, feed the soil, and in time become part of something new. The light they once held is not lost. It is recycled, turned into energy once more. In this cycle, light is never gone. It is transformed, reabsorbed, remembered in root and branch. That is why in early spring the first shoots often grow where last year's leaves fell thickest. The memory of light, held in old matter, feeds the listening of the new. And there is beauty in this patience. A plant never rushes toward the sun. It grows in accordance with what the light allows. It does not demand more than is given. It does not fear the darkness, for it knows that light returns. This trust, unspoken, unmoving, is what makes the green world so deeply calming. To sit beside a plant is to be reminded that listening is not passive. It is active stillness. It is awareness without noise. It is presence without pressure. This is why humans feel peace in gardens, why a single potted plant can soften an entire room. Even if we do not notice it, our bodies sense the plant's rhythm, its slow breathing, its quiet tuning to the sun. We feel the memory it carries. The mornings it has stood in light, the evenings it has folded itself in rest, the tiny adjustments it makes day by day without complaint. In its stillness it speaks, and we too remember how to be quiet. So tonight, as the sky darkens and the last light slips from your window, think of the plants outside folding into rest. They do not fear the night. They are listening still, to the warmth stored in their leaves, to the signal that says, grow slower now, to the promise of dawn. And you, like them, carry light inside you, not just in memory, but in rhythm, in breath, in being. You have listened to the sun every day of your life, whether you noticed or not. Its warmth has shaped your thoughts. Its color has softened your sleep. Its rising has marked your hours. You are not separate from this listening. You are part of it. So close your eyes now and feel the sun that lingers still in the skin of your hands, in the color of your dreams, in the quiet music of your thoughts. Let it carry you slowly into rest. The plants are listening, and so are you. In the deepest parts of the ocean, where no sunlight reaches and the weight of the sea presses down with ancient stillness, there are colors. Not the kind you see on a bright afternoon or reflected in a puddle after rain, but hidden colors, ones that emerge only when called upon. Down there, in that cold black quiet, creatures make their own light. Bioluminescence, the ability to glow in darkness, is not just a marvel, it is a language. And what it reveals is that, even in the absence of the sun, the world continues to speak in rainbows. This story begins in the dark, but it does not stay there. For darkness is never empty. It is full of waiting, of mystery, of hidden frequencies. Beneath the waves, in caves, in soil, in the farthest reaches of space, light can still exist, even where it cannot be seen. And sometimes what glows in the shadows is more vibrant than anything lit by day. A jellyfish, drifting like a ghost through black water, pulses with blue-green light. A squid releases a trail of glowing ink. A fish opens its jaw, and inside, a flicker soft and red lights the way forward. These are not accidents. These are colors with purpose, shaped by evolution, designed to survive. The color most often found in bioluminescence is blue. This is not coincidence. Blue light travels farthest through water, reaching deeper than red or green. So creatures that need to communicate, to lure, to warn, use blue like a universal note. Some emit steady glows, others blink like stars, still others pulse in waves. Each flash is a message, each glow a signature. And though no human eye was meant to see it, the ocean's depths are alive with invisible conversations. Yet not all bioluminescence is blue. In rare places, green, red, and even violet emerge. The flashlight fish of tropical reefs emits bursts of white from under its eyes. The stoplight lucijaw, found miles below the surface, produces red, a color that most deep-sea creatures cannot detect, making it the perfect tool for hunting and stealth. Imagine that, a predator glowing red in a blue-black world, invisible to its prey. This is the paradox of light in darkness, that sometimes the most powerful color is the one no one else can see. But the ocean is not the only place where this hidden rainbow lives. On land, there are fungi that glow at night, their green light spilling across rotting wood in quiet patterns. Fireflies, tiny lamps of the forest, flash yellow and gold to attract mates or confuse predators. In some caves, glowworms hang sticky threads from ceilings, their light drawing insects upward in wonder and into traps. These lights, though soft, are precise. Each one is tuned by nature to a specific frequency. Like instruments in a symphony, only the night can hear. And the light comes from within. Bioluminescence is not reflected or borrowed. It is created, a chemical reaction between luciferin and oxygen, triggered by an enzyme called luciferase. The word itself carries poetry, luciferin, from Latin lux asterisk, meaning light, and fair, to bring, light bringer. In mythology, Lucifer was once the morning star. In biology, the name survives in the quiet glow of mushrooms and deep-sea fish. Light not from the sky, but from within, born in cells, flickering in tissues, released in silence. The purpose of these hidden colors is survival, but their presence speaks to something more. That light is not dependent on the sun. That even when all external illumination fades, the world finds ways to glow. Evolution, in its patient creativity, has built candles in the dark, lanterns in the ocean, stars in the soil. These lights are often invisible to us, yet they shape ecosystems. They draw mates, guide movement, mark territory. They are not just decorations. They are messages. And what about humans? Do we carry any of this hidden glow? The answer, quietly, is yes. Your body, though you cannot see it, emits a faint light, a form of ultraweak photon emission that all living things produce. It is 1,000 times weaker than what your eyes can detect, but it's there, a soft shimmer from metabolic reactions, from the dance of molecules. Scientists using sensitive instruments have captured this light, mapping the glow of a human face over a day. It pulses slightly, changing with time, with mood, with health. You are, even in darkness, a small and silent star. Even more striking is the human brain, which glows too, not in bioluminescence, but in activity. Neurons fire in bursts of electricity. Synapses light up like distant cities viewed from space. And though we use machines to see this, fMRI, EEG, PET scans, the truth remains. Your thoughts are illuminated. Each idea, each memory, each dream is a flicker of light in the quiet night of the mind. And perhaps that is the greatest hidden rainbow of all. So much of light's story is told in absence, in shadows, in hints. A rainbow is only visible when the conditions are right, when the angle is correct, when the water hangs just so in the air. Otherwise, it is there but unseen. The same is true for bioluminescence, for the faint glow of your own skin, for the colored silence in the mind. The light is always there. It is simply waiting to be revealed. And so in the darkest places, under the ocean, under earth, under your own ribs, light still lives. And with it color, not always the loud spectrum of day, but the quiet range of the unseen. The blues that comfort, the reds that protect, the greens that heal. This rainbow, hidden in darkness, reminds us that color is not about brightness. It is about presence. It is about what survives even when the sun goes away. And in that, it is perhaps the purest form of light we know. Let's now descend more deeply into the quiet places, where color becomes something not seen but sensed, where the rainbow is not an arc in the sky, but a secret pulse within living things. In these realms, where darkness is not the absence of light but its own subtle texture, we begin to understand that color does not disappear when it cannot be seen. It waits, and more than that, it transforms. In the deep ocean, in the forest at night, inside the hidden folds of cells, color is remade not by reflection but by generation. It emerges from within, crafted in silence, shaped by need. Some of the most ancient creatures on Earth glow not for beauty but for survival. The comb jelly, drifting like a transparent harp through black water, does not emit light through bioluminescence alone. It refracts and diffracts ambient light, creating shimmering stripes of rainbow even when no light source is near. These rainbows, caught in motion, are not painted on its surface. They are structural, born from the jelly's form, a geometry of color. This is called iridescence, and it's another way that the dark becomes a canvas for light. Iridescence is not a glow but a trick of structure. The feathers of a hummingbird, the wings of a butterfly, the shell of a beetle all shimmer not because of pigment, but because of how their surfaces scatter light. These surfaces contain microscopic layers that split and bend light, creating shifting color that changes with every movement. It's a rainbow that is always becoming, never still. And often, it is most visible in low light, where contrast is greatest. In that way, the darkness becomes essential. The shadow makes the shimmer sing. In caves, this phenomenon continues in other forms. There are minerals that glow faintly when exposed to ultraviolet light, rocks that have waited for thousands of years to shine. This glow, called fluorescence, isn't constant. It appears only when the right kind of energy strikes it. And when it does, the stone remembers light and gives it back, softly, briefly, like a sigh. Some insects, scorpions and lichen, carry this property too. They glow not on command, but in response, as if touched by invisible music. And this brings us to something delicate, the idea that color is not only what we project, but what we receive. In human vision, what we call color is not a property of the object itself, but the result of how that object reflects or emits light. A leaf is green not because it holds green, but because it absorbs every other wavelength and sends green outward. In this sense, what we see is not what is there, but what is left behind. Color, then, is absence made visible. It is silence made radiant. This becomes even more poetic when you realize that your eyes cannot see most of the electromagnetic spectrum. Ultraviolet, infrared, microwave, gamma, all invisible, yet very real. Plants see ultraviolet. Snakes detect infrared. Bees follow patterns on flowers that are invisible to us. The world is full of hidden rainbows, bands of perception that slip past our awareness but shape the behavior of every living thing. To the bee, the flower is not simply yellow. It is a map of colors layered in wavelengths we will never know, a guide drawn in frequencies beyond our reach. In these moments, we begin to understand that human vision is narrow, but our imagination is vast. We create instruments to see the invisible, telescopes that colorize distant galaxies, microscopes that paint viruses in false hue, cameras that reveal the warmth of a hand in a room full of cold. These tools do not show us true color. They translate. They let us hear the silent music of energy in tones our eyes can understand. And what they teach us, again and again, is that the universe is far more colorful than it appears. Even within your own body, there are hidden lights. Blood carries oxygen and glows a deeper red in its presence. The iris of your eye shifts slightly in hue with emotion. The skin, though seemingly one shade, reflects blood flow, hydration, and emotion, blushing, paling, darkening, telling silent stories through tone. Some of this we notice. Most of it we don't. But our bodies perceive these signals even when our minds do not. We know when someone looks tired, not because they are dimmer, but because the color of their presence has changed. And then there is memory, the way a dream glows in purple even if it had no shape, the way grief colors the world in gray, the way nostalgia turns everything slightly golden. These colors are not seen with the eyes. They rise in the chest, in the breath, in the quiet behind your thoughts. They are internal rainbows, emotional spectrums. They shimmer at the edge of feeling. And though they cannot be measured, they are among the most vivid colors we will ever know. Some scientists have speculated that early humans may have had different color perception, that the way we see now is a product of both biology and language. In cultures with few color words, people group hues differently. Some languages do not separate blue from green. Others have dozens of words for white. This means that color is not only biology, but culture, a story shaped by how we choose to name it. The rainbow you see is as much learned as it is seen. And in darkness, where numbing ceases, we return to pure perception. A child watching fireflies does not call them yellow-green phosphorescent blinking beetles. The child calls them magic. And perhaps they are right, because in the dark, light needs no explanation. It needs only to be seen, to be felt. The rainbow hidden in darkness is not less real than the one after a storm. It is quieter, older, more intimate. It does not ask to be noticed. But when you do, when you finally notice the shimmer in the moth's wing, or the glow beneath your skin, or the fire in your own dreaming mind, it reveals a truth that feels like peace. The rainbow has never been only in the sky. It lives in the fold of a wave, in the breath of a jellyfish, in the flicker of a lichen under starlight. It lives in the silence between thoughts, in the color that arrives when a memory touches the heart. It lives in the dark, not as an absence but as a promise. That light is always nearby, waiting to return. Let us bring this journey to its final glow, to the last place where color breathes not with brightness but with presence, where the rainbow hidden in darkness becomes not just a marvel of biology or a curiosity of science, but something more personal, something deeply human. We are creatures of light, but we are also creatures of shadow, and it is in the space between the two that our greatest senses awaken. Color is not only what we see when the sun shines or when paint touches canvas. It is what we carry when there is nothing to see. The colors of our inner world, emotion, memory, sensation, do not need the sun to rise. They shimmer in the dark, in dreams, in silence. Think of the way firelight moves across a room at night. The way it warms the walls, flickers across skin, paints the ceiling in soft orange waves. That light does not flood the space. It touches it gently. And in that low light, shadows become soft, voices quiet, thoughts deeper. You are more aware of your breath, of your hands, of the way time slows. You do not need full illumination to feel fully alive. In fact, it is often in darkness, when the world dims, that we begin to notice color more clearly. The gold in the flame, the blue of night, the faint red pulse behind closed eyes, these are the quietest colors, the ones that wait for stillness to be seen. And even when the eyes close completely, color remains. In dreams, we are surrounded by landscapes of light. Sometimes they are brilliant, impossible sunsets, glowing rivers, skies of violet and silver. Sometimes they are muted, shadowy, soft, unfinished. But always there is tone, there is warmth, there is hue. And when we awaken, the colors remain behind, woven into the edge of our thoughts like a ribbon trailing from a breeze we cannot name. These are not hallucinations. They are the mind's own language, a continuation of the world's color, reshaped by memory, emotion, and sleep. Within the brain, even in the absence of external light, electrical impulses fire in patterns of color, not visible to the eye but detectable through instruments that translate these waves into shape and motion. A thought may flicker through the prefrontal cortex. A dream may ripple through the limbic system. Neurons spark like tiny lanterns in a vast and hidden forest. In this light, there are no rainbows in the traditional sense, no red to violet arc. But there is something deeper: rhythm, pulse, flow. These are the structures of inner color, not pigment but pattern, not seen but known. And then there is love, that quiet force which moves without sound or sight, yet often brings color to the cheeks, warmth to the skin, radiance to the gaze. We speak of seeing someone as lighting up a room, of memories being rose-tinted, of feeling blue in sorrow. These are not just poetic terms, they are truths shaped by experience. The emotional brain does not distinguish sharply between light and feeling. Color is the language it speaks when words cannot be found. When joy fills the chest, it is golden. When sorrow sinks in, it is gray. When hope returns, it is green. These inner rainbows are real as anything reflected in the sky. Even grief has color. Not just darkness, but soft blues, the silver of tears, the deep maroon of silence. Grief does not erase color, it dulls it, folds it inward, holds it gently. And in time, when healing begins, the color returns not as it was, but softer, deeper, touched by all that was lost and all that still remains. That is the rainbow after the storm, not in the sky, but in the heart. And so we arrive at the great truth carried by this hidden rainbow, that color does not need light to exist. It needs presence, it needs attention, it needs the quiet space where noticing happens. A rainbow can live in the mist rising from your tea, in the glint of a tear you do not wipe away, in the memory of someone's laughter echoing inside you like sunlight through leaves. The most beautiful colors are not always seen. They are felt. They rise within us when we are soft enough to receive them. And just as rainbows appear only when certain conditions align, water in the air, light at the right angle, a viewer standing in just the right place, so too do these inner rainbows appear when our attention aligns with stillness, when the noise fades, when the eyes close, when the breath slows. That is when the unseen becomes visible. That is when the colors that have waited patiently behind the curtain of daily life begin to step forward and reveal themselves. Let that be the final thought you carry from this story, that you are never truly in darkness. Even on the longest night, even in the deepest cave of your own thoughts, there are colors waiting. The rainbow has not disappeared. It has simply stepped aside, waiting for the quiet to return, waiting for your attention, waiting for you. So tonight, as your mind begins to settle and the world falls silent around you, imagine the colors you cannot see, the ones that hum behind your dreams, that whisper beneath your memories, that soften your breath as you fall into sleep. Let them rise. Let them shimmer. Let them wrap around you like a blanket woven from moonlight and memory. You are safe. You are whole. And within you, even now, the rainbow hidden in darkness still glows.